we are going to have some fun in doing some hands-on troubleshooting of an IP network. And I thought before we dig into the actual hands-on, let's talk for just a few moments, you and I, about some general ideas regarding troubleshooting that can help us with that process and make us that much better at troubleshooting and solving problems. And one of the first things to do is to verify. What do you mean, Keith? Verify. V-E-R-I-F. Spell it right, first of all. So we want to verify if Bob, the user, is claiming that they can't reach a server or a device, we want to verify that if we can, just to replicate the symptoms of what's happening, to verify, to see the actual problem. And then we'd want to rule out what it's not, find out what is working. So if the customer is using DNS, domain name system, which translates like a name to an IP address, we want to verify that. Or we could just work with raw IP addresses, and that would rule out name resolution altogether as the problem. And let's say this PC is trying to connect to a Florida computer, this one right here. And one way of verifying connectivity is with a ping. Now, let me share with you, let me go back to video here. Let me share with you one of my earliest memories of a big lesson that I learned, and that was verify what normally should work. I was at Blue Cross of California in the 90s. That's a long, long time ago, and I got called down to Leonard Schaefer's office, which is he was the CEO of Blue Cross of California at the time, and one of the secretaries couldn't print, and so I spent about 15 minutes resolving a printing issue or working on it, and then it came up that I finally asked the question, when's the last time you printed, and has this ever worked? And she goes, oh, I'm a temp. I've never printed here before. So it turns out she wasn't even logged onto the network, let alone able to print. So one of the key elements is to verify what normal looks like, what's supposed to happen, and then try to troubleshoot so that we can restore the functionality that existed previously. So by verifying the symptoms, asking a few questions can get us in the right direction. So continuing on with the situation where this client PC in Arizona can't communicate with this device, if this PC has a personal firewall or something else that won't respond to a ping, trying to do a ping to this device might be a futile exercise. So we'd want to verify what's supposed to be functional in our troubleshooting before we try to get that kind of a resolution. So in this topology, these PCs in Florida and in Nevada, they are all able to respond to pings. And so then what we might do is say, okay, great, do we have connectivity? And we could use tools like trace. Now on a Windows computer, it'd be trace RT. If we're on a computer from Cisco, it'd be trace route. But either way, those commands can help us verify how far through the path we are getting. And if this PC here cannot ping its default gateway, which is either going to be Core 1 or Core 2, depending on how it's configured, and here's the IP addresses for our network, maybe we first test and verify we can ping our default gateway. Or maybe we try to ping to the Arizona router, or maybe we use a trace route to verify how far a packet is making it through the network. And when doing this type of troubleshooting, I'm reminded of the earthquake, the Northridge earthquake. When was that? Back in the 90s, I think? Anyway, in the Northridge earthquake, I lived in Simi Valley, California, and it was a 6.7 earthquake. Oh my gosh, it was devastating. It was just so incredibly. So anyway, after it happened, the point of the story is, after the earthquake happened, we went and talked to our neighbors to find out if they were okay. And the way we did that is went house to house to house for our neighbors, verifying that they're okay, did they get hurt by anything that fell, and so forth, house by house by house. And that same technique can be used in troubleshooting a network. If we're sitting at a PC, we might want to verify, okay, do we have a good default gateway configured? And can we reach that default gateway? And then from that default gateway, can we reach the next device and the next device in the path until we find out what the problem is? It could be a layer 2 problem or a layer 3 problem that is preventing our traffic from flowing. And so in these labs, I will give you the heads up that these labs that I've built for us, they are all going to be based on a layer 2 problem or a layer 3 problem. So it's not an application layer service, or there's no missing cables. It's something with basic routing or switching that is causing the failure in these troubleshooting labs that are coming up. Another element that's very, very helpful is to document as we go. Not just document the symptoms and what we checked, but also maybe redraw the topology, a logical representation of the topology, so you can look at it and say, okay, I know where this interface is, and I know where that device is in relationship to that interface. So you can actually troubleshoot with your finger, looking at the path through the network, or with a pen if it's digital. And that technique can be very, very helpful when trying to troubleshoot a network, is by having access to the topology and then making notes and drawing out that topology as you troubleshoot it. So I wanted to introduce a few of those troubleshooting concepts regarding troubleshooting an IP network before we begin, and I'll see you, my friend, in the very next video. So meanwhile, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.